Welcome into Spilling on the Rocks. It is Tuesday night, right after the Rockies lost to the Cubs in extra innings, and I have a bunch of things to get into. Some roster moves that are coming down the road. I'll take you through a bunt sequence and some question marks when it comes to the overall roster. Some struggling guys, and start with I didn't get into it yesterday, but Carson Palmquist on Memorial Day had his best start. And going into Palmquist's start, we've talked about this young Rockies rookie. Really interesting when it comes to his release point, his extension. Extension is a really nice measure for all the stats that we get. The higher extension you have, the more swing and miss you can create. What extension does for a pitcher is, let's say you're 6'3" and you release the ball at 7 feet. So you get down the slope, you're releasing the ball way out in front. What that's doing, it's increasing the distance or decreasing the distance from your release point to home plate, 60 feet, 6 inches. And I learned this when I was in Japan. I've said this for forever. I came back from Japan. I was like, man, there's a couple things that Japanese pitchers do really, really well. They have a short arm swing, so like they're really tight in their arm. It's hard to pick up, hard to get the timing on it. They do throw like a little bit over the top, so they can spin the baseball pretty well. So we know spin efficiency creates that like induced vertical break. Induced vertical break is basically when a ball is fighting gravity, can come through and like our brain projects how the ball is going to move down. And so when you have a ball that spins at a very high level, it will carry through the strike zone because it's fighting gravity, right? The spin is creating it's more efficient when it's flying through the air, and it fights gravity. So where you normally would see something go down, like if you're watching a plane land, your brain is basically watching this thing go, and you just assume it's going to end up at the spot. Your brain fills in the blanks. When you see a plane that goes and then it hovers, like you're expecting it to land, but then it carries over, that plays a little trick in your mind, right? So same thing as hitters. You only have 0.3 of a second when you're seeing a ball. And so, what we've learned now in the last couple of years is that spin rates, increased spin, can fight gravity better. And so going back to Japan, there were these guys that were throwing 92 miles an hour. And I would swing through a pitch. I'm like, what the heck? How am I missing that? Well, they spun the ball really well. They also were really good with extension. Japanese players in general are very flexible, and they get down the slope because of their ability to be flexible, and they can release closer to the plate. So 92 with big extension could be up a mile or a mile or two an hour, right? So pretty simple. Like think about it. You're releasing the ball closer to the plate, even at 92, but 92, 6 inches, 8 inches closer is actually going to be faster than 94 from back here, right? From 4 feet, or maybe let's call it like 2 feet behind. So like a low extension rate guy, even though he might throw harder, that pitch would feel slower to a hitter. Okay. So in the case of Carson Palmquist, Palmquist does throw with elite extension. He's like in the 99th percentile. So he really gets down the slope. He also throws from a low arm slot. So he's not throwing from an overhand. He's more from the slot. And I've talked to you guys about this. It screams what we call an upshoot fastball. An upshoot fastball, you can't have an upshoot fastball from a high release point. It only comes from a low release point, and then throw that thing up. And then what it looks like to a hitter is like it's taking off. So when you throw at the top of the strike zone with high extension, low arm slot release, upshoot fastball, you get swing and miss. Huh? Who would have guessed? So I've been saying that. I was like, dude, stop throwing it down. That's going to just get splattered. Talked to Justin Turner. Justin Turner was like, hey, Spilly, I heard you talk about Carson Palmquist. You're 100% right. That stuff plays way better at the top. Okay, so he did it. Much better on Monday, had his best start, kind of like one of those aha moments, like, oh, I can do this. I heard him say we had him on the broadcast today. We had him in the top of the or bottom top of the third inning. He was good, quiet kid, but he was talking about how he wants to elevate his fastball, something he's been working on all week, and blah blah blah. But he said, I want my fastball away. Like I've gotten swing and misses from fastballs away to right-hand hitters. That might be true at the minor league level. It won't be true forever at the big league level. That is still allowing a hitter, when the pitch is away from them, to hit the ball a little bit deeper in the strike zone. So even though you might be throwing 92 with the lead extension, a fastball away, I can still kind of get to it because it's the bat. I get my decision making is farther away and I can hit it. If he starts throwing that thing in, up and in, and just pound from that arm slot, he's going to get a ton of swing and miss, a ton of swing and miss. So I hope he understands how that works. My only concern there is in order to tunnel to get that pitch to like really work, you need to have a secondary pitch off of it. I'm not quite sure the sweeper he can start in that same tunnel at that level to where you're going to get the tunneling portion of it. That's where fastball away with sweeper at that spot. That's where it's probably played for him. But now he's got to figure out, is there a cutter? I think a cutter could work for him. So we'll see. Still, he's got a start next week in Miami, which is where he went to school. He went to Florida. So he's going to have a lot of friends and family there. All right, let's get into Germán for a second. This was the third consecutive start for Germán where he's pitched really well. Now, here's where I point out that Warren Schaefer has had impact on what we're seeing with the players. We saw it with Chase Dollander before he got hurt. We've seen it now with Germán. We're starting to see it with Senzatella. They're pitching a little bit more to the strengths versus just pitching the old philosophy that we saw with Bud Black, establish down and away and then mix and match. I think they're starting to kind of get into the metrics of how the stuff plays. So for Germán tonight, and I'll pull this up, I think it's fun to watch. I do like showing people what I'm looking at because I think it's really important that you have an idea of what I think is important. And I think this is important right here. So I'll pull you in and we'll go into Germán's day today. So for Germán, we'll start with where he's at with his pitch stuff. Get out of here. Let me get this thing out of my way. Okay. So Germán today, the sinker and slider has been trash. Like that's been like his worst pitches. So tonight against the Cubs, really good offense, really good team. Look at this. 35%, 42% four-seam fastball usage, and right off of it, knuckleball usage. So these are the two highest marks that Germán has had. He's still wanting to use the sinker and slider a couple starts ago. He is now going exclusively to this fastball, four-seam fastball, knuckle curve combo, which I really like. And then we'll give you the pitch 3D so you just have a better idea of what I'm talking about. So once you see it, you're like, oh, now I get it, Spilly. All right, so here we go. Notice how the fastballs are at the top and now the curveballs are down. So these are going to pair really well together because you still throw 98, 96 swinging strike. Germán was getting not a lot of whiffs on strikes, so he's getting it up at the top rail. And then he's throwing the curveball off of it because this curveball is still 86 miles an hour. Nasty. Now, Germán's not a big extension guy, but that's okay. If you're not a big extension guy, what we learned is that your curveballs, you can snap curveballs from a shorter extension. Just think about it. You're not getting all the way down the slope. This time you're a little bit back, so your body can kind of get over the top of the curveball, and that's how these guys are able to snap it. So he has enough fastball velocity at the top where the extension doesn't really matter, but it sets up the curveball really, really well. So there you go. Germán is looking much more like Germán. So that's good news. Really good news. Now, it's good news for a couple of reasons, because he probably should be a trade candidate, big time trade candidate. Final year before free agency, and there's a couple teams out there: the Cardinals, Astros, the Cubs that are looking for some pitching help. Philadelphia. So I think he's putting himself in the window, but as I think I showed you last week, the cap table for the teams that are in contention right now, Several of these teams are up against the luxury tax threshold. So they're probably not trading a top prospect and adding money, because the money added, if you're over the tax threshold, is basically increasing the cost of it. So since there's about $6 million still owed to Herman with a tax on top of that, you're adding 25 to 50% in some cases, up to 100% in some others. So you're not going to double up the salary of Herman for where he currently is. He's not going to be your ace. He's going to be a fourth or fifth starter for a good team. So again, like, this comes to like reality check for the Rockies. Like, what are you going to get for this player? What are you going to get for this player? I think what you can get for Herman is probably a mid-level prospect, which is not going to be music to the ears of the Rockies. You could get some salary relief, right? $2.5 million, maybe a little bit more, but you're not going to get a top 10 prospect. You're just not. That's reality. So hopefully you get somebody like a reliever, a young starter, big upside. Look for extension and see where you can move from there. Here's another thing that I want to point out, and happened extra innings. It was with Adael Amador, and Amador is now on borrowed time. So Thairo Estrada is probably going to get activated this weekend. My guess is Friday. And the Rockies added, it sounds like they added Orlando Arcia. That was a Brave shortstop who lost his playing time to Nick Allen. This makes zero sense to me as far as adding another utility infielder. You already have Tyler Freeman. You already have Kyle Farmer. I don't get this one at all. Ryan Ritter has been the PCL player of the week the last 2 weeks. I'd rather give Ritter an opportunity, but Ryan Ritter is a shortstop, could play third base. Could you flop and put McMahon at first for a little bit and Ryan Ritter at third? That would probably make some sense. And I'll get into why that would make sense in a second. So here's a little baseball 101. So Rockies extra innings. Usually you're not bunting when you're the road team. You try to play for 2 runs, but in this case, just trying to scratch and claw and get a run across. Rockies and Warren Schaefer, he's been aggressive with bunts, which I like. Schaefer's been pretty aggressive. And the games have been competitive, let's be honest. Like the last week of games, other than the Phillies blowout one, the Rockies have been competitive. They lost 2-0, then they won Friday, and then they did get shellacked on Saturday, but really competitive game on Saturday. On Sunday, they had a chance to win a series. Monday's game against the Cubs, really competitive, really tight. And so here's another tight game. And Amador, who's a good bunter-ish, does the Cardinal sin. When you have a runner at second or you have a runner at first and second, you have to bunt to third. Have to bunt to third. If you bunt to first, a first baseman's crashing and can make a play on the base runner at third base. So baseball 101 is you have to bunt to third. Now, unfortunately, the only time you would bunt to first is maybe a first and third scenario. Anytime you have a first baseman holding on the runner, you're going to bunt to first. Okay, so wherever the base runner is and whoever you want to field it to vacate the spot, that's where you want to bunt it. So if it's a runner at second base, bunt it to third. If the runner's at first, you don't want the third baseman to crash. You want to bunt it to first. Here's a case where Amador, and I'll play this one out, he tries to bunt it to first. And fails miserably. If you bunt it to third, nobody's there. And you probably, Aaron Shunk at second is walking to third. And I'll show it from high home. This is another good view of it. So notice third baseman, he has to stay put. Doesn't want to leave his spot. If you bunt it towards him, he has to come field it. And it's an easy walk to third base. And instead, he bunts it to first. Frustrating. And Amador is a 22-year-old. I want to be excited about these young players. I am. I think Amador has a lot of growth. He's only 22. I think he needs a lot more seasoning. I've been a little bit disappointed. I think his swing has gotten long. He's falling forward way too much, and he's probably going to get sent down on Friday when Tyro Estrada gets recalled. The other player I want to point out, and it's why I brought up Ryan Ritter, is Michael Toglia. Um, Toglia, man, it has been as tough of a stretch as you possibly can have. Here's the Rockies team batting. Strikeouts right now, they are number one, 530 punchouts. And defensively, check this out. Defensive efficiency, I love it. Balls put in play, turned into outs. When the Rockies have been good, they're usually in the top 10. They're dead last. And in the case of Big Mike, I mean, I thought he had a chance to be a clear, like, just kind of like bust out. Like I thought he had a chance to be, kind of a special player this year, and it has been the opposite. It has been probably the biggest struggle we've seen. Last year, he's one of the best at hitting fastballs. This year, he's nowhere near it. Check this out. Total strikeouts. Michael Toglia, 77. I think he punched out tonight, so he's at 78. And you have Ellie De La Cruz is like 8 strikeouts behind him for second. This isn't all of baseball. And De La Cruz has 40 more at bats. 40 more at bats. So, and Big Mike is hitting 199 with 6 homers, and Ellie De La Cruz is hitting much, much higher. 270 on base. This screams it's probably time to go down the minor leagues, get your swing tightened up. Defensively, he's been a little bit of a letdown too. So it brings up the question about Ryan Ritter. Are you better off, with Orlando Arcia coming? You're going to platoon it first with Arcia and Kyle Farmer, or would it make more sense to move McMahon to third base for a little bit? Let's see what Ryan Ritter can do. Put him at third, especially if you are going to move on from McMahon, if there even is a possible trade down the road. Wouldn't you want to see one of these young guys? I mean, he's been getting on base at a high clip. It's been, I think, 12 consecutive games with an extra base hit. I do point out that PCL numbers, Pacific Coast League numbers, are not, not very good at predicting if a guy's going to be a performer at the big leagues or not, because I think the jump from AAA to the big leagues is the biggest it's ever been. But I mean, from a roster standpoint, because I mean the team's won 9 games. Would you rather see Ryan Ritter get an opportunity, officially make him a big leaguer, which now he has value, right? He's gonna have value, versus Orlando Arcia, who, if you put him on the roster, yeah, he has value, but nobody's gonna trade for that. They'll just wait for you to non-tender him, just like the Rockies did. And then you have a platoon at first. I don't get this one. So my gut tells me, Arcia comes in, Aaron Schunk is out. Friday you have Thyro possibly coming back. That means you're going to send out Amador. What about Toglia? And I'm never calling for a player to get sent out. But I think in this case, it kind of screams to just clean up some mechanics, get off the pressure of being in the big leagues, and maybe give a shot to one of these younger players. Maybe see what Ryan Ritter can do. And the worst thing that happens in the case of Ryan Ritter is plays for a month, gets a chance to play some third. Maybe he tests him out at first base. Maybe you play him at second some. Give him some opportunities to move around the diamond. At least 100 at bats. And then when Mike is ready to come back, because they need Big Mike to be a first baseman. Like he's the organization's best first base option right now, because Kyle Karros got hurt and they have no other first base option. So what do you do? That's what I see. So Rockies have another game tomorrow night. It's going to rain all day in Chicago, and then hopefully there's a game, and then a day off on Thursday, and then, like I said, probably a bunch of moves are going to happen on Friday. Dollander threw today. If you're curious, threw well, and Austin Gomber is starting to pitch against live batters. So those are the news. I will point out the Rockies games, they have been more competitive. And, from within the clubhouse, there's some frustration because they're so close. They're so close. And it's the little things that just add up. But they're fighting. They're fighting. You can follow me at Spilly on the Rocks at SpillyGo19, and then follow the boys. Follow the boys at Mile High Sports. Adios, muchachos.